The Gay Liberation Front is a model of the first lesbian and gay sexual revolution in Britain. Along with women's liberation, it was the most important social movement of the late 20th century. It was started in 1970 by two sociology students who invited gay men and gay women to unite around a simple set of demands. Among these were calls for an end to discrimination against homosexuals in employment and sex education in the age of consent, 21 for gays against 16 for heterosexuals, and in being treated as sick by the medical establishment. It was just over 100 years since the coining of the word homosexual by the Hungarian Dr. Benkert in 1865, and Carl Friedrich Westphal's article of 1870 on contrary sexual feelings. In the early 1970s, Michel Foucault wrote the following genealogy of male homosexuality from the end of the Renaissance. As defined by the ancient civil or canonical codes, sodomy, a term covering debauchery, sex with animals, the anal penetration of women, and the anal penetration of men, was a category of forbidden acts. Their perpetrator was nothing more than the judicial subject of them. The 19th century homosexual became a personage, a past, a case history, and a childhood, in addition to being a type of life, a life form, and a morphology with an indiscrete anatomy and possibly a mysterious physiology. Nothing that went into his total composition was unaffected by his sexuality. It was everywhere present in him, at the root of all his actions, because it was their insidious and indefinitely active principle, written immodestly on his face and body, because it was a secret that always gave itself away. It was consubstantial with him, less as a habitual sin than as a singular nature. We must not forget that the psychological, psychiatric, medical category of homosexuality was constituted from the moment it was characterized, less by a type of sexual relation than by a certain quality of sexual sensibility, a certain way of inverting the masculine and feminine in oneself. Homosexuality appeared as one of the forms of sexuality when it was transposed from the practice of sodomy onto a kind of interior androgyny, a hermaphrodism of the soul. The sodomite had been a temporary aberration. The homosexual was now a species. Foucault places this description of the homosexual in the content of the 18th century, at a time when the discourse on sex was taken over from the church by the bourgeois state, which was also wrestling with its new concept of population. Population as economic and political, population as wealth, population as labor, population as increase for economic gain, at the heart of which was sex, the ideal of heterosexual marital sex that the church policed, along with the discourses on the subject, was then assigned to the medical profession, while the deviant remained subject to criminal justice. By 1865, religious morality, economics, politics, criminology, and defiance had crystallized into the medical specialization of sexology, an agent of social control, which viewed homosexuality as a condition, or as Foucault saw it, as a species. The history of the Gay Liberation Front is the history of the attempt to discover, define, invent, enlarge, present, and display the expansion of the homosexual role within society. The criminal label had been removed. Gay pride vanquished the compromised sexologists, and homosexuals were free to begin the struggle to become themselves.